All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Here on this podcast, we talk a lot about gender and LGBTQ plus topics and just sexuality in general and all the social and cultural things that come along with it. And, we're in this series called Adult Entertainment. I am kind of staggering episodes for those who may not want to just hear about the adult entertainment industry type of topics. So I came across some YouTube content of people that I follow to one extent or another. So the reason why I'm mentioning them is because I think, YouTube's guidelines as far as how they censor content tends to be, geared toward things that people might not find as like super sensitive topics. I mean, maybe yeah, but I mean, like, like adult sex worker interviews are different than watching like a porn video, right? So basically YouTube is able to, have people on there doing things within whatever the guidelines is that they have set. I mean, YouTube isn't really like a porn site. I mean, people promote themselves on there for sure, and there's some kind of, there's definitely like kind of lines that YouTube doesn't allow to be crossed without somebody getting banned or their videos getting taken down or somebody getting just totally restricted. YouTube is generally I wouldn't say it's always kid friendly, but usually it doesn't rock the boat much. So I need to stop recording these late at night so that I won't be like yawning in the middle, but such is life. So a more recent interview that I've watched, I don't remember how I came across this one. I was probably searching for something that led me into it, but it's an interview. The name of the interview is called Layers of Lane Rogers, and this interview is given by Gavin Simon. It was an interview done 1 year ago. So people who don't know Lane Rogers or Lane V. Rogers, he goes by Blake Mitchell. Initially, he was through the gay porn studio Helix Studios. I mean, they've got some content on YouTube. It's mostly like #Helix stuff, and like just Helix Studios in general has like interviews and clips of their videos or whatever. It's like very twink Caucasian, male gay guys. The thing I like about their content is just kind of like just the discussion aspect and like the interview aspect and just the aspect that kind of like they seem like friendly coworkers. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be in some kind of an environment that's like necessarily that similar, but it's just kind of like interesting that, from what they say, they have like a good friendly environment. It doesn't sound like a toxic work environment, and there are a lot of young upcoming entrepreneurs that brand themselves. They come out of that studio, they kind of, have their own brand after the fact or during the fact. And so I think a lot of the content that they do post tends to be like more of a sex positive image of things. Blake Mitchell that's his porn star name, and he does gay porn, but I believe he identifies as a bisexual male, cis guy, from Kentucky. And so he's pretty, he's interesting. Like, following his content, he's a pretty interesting guy. And, he does do a lot of interviews. I may have heard of him first through, like, Davey Wavy, who goes by Wicked Cool. I've talked about him before. One of the first gay content creators I've ever come across. And now he has his own adult entertainment gay male porn site called Himeros. I think it's Himeros TV or something like that. But yeah, the interview with Lane Rogers is really good. They talk about topics such as, like, just kind of like the industry of why people, like, maybe during the pandemic were gravitating towards OnlyFans, and kind of his life story of how he got into, doing like sex work type of videos and things, about his life. He talks about, his life when he was, growing up and in school, and the early jobs that he had, and just kind of like how he kind of got out of the position by kind of just taking a risk. Not saying it was necessarily a risky situation, but kind of like taking that risk. I do believe that sex workers do take a risk, just for branding themselves. Not blaming them or knocking it or anything. I'm just saying, they tend to have a stance, not a stance, but they tend to have basically they put it all on the line in their young age. The majority of, sex work people tend to be on the younger end, especially if they're in like the movies and things like that. They tend to be on the younger end. And then, say for example, the argument always is, what if you want a different job later on? How's that going to affect you? Like, there's this episode of it was like way back, Grey's Anatomy, where I think her name is Izzy. She was like working as I don't know what their position was actually called. They were like doctors, interns. I don't know what the term is anymore, but they were doctors, and they went basically into the in to see the patients and things. And so she went into someone who was assigned to her as a patient, and this guy recognized her from, I think it was like a pinup or like a centerfold of some kind of a magazine with like sexual content and like nudity and things like that. And he kind of noticed her in there, or noticed her from there, and so didn't really want her operating on him. And that was kind of like, ooh, the scandal. She was in a magazine kind of thing. And then like, she had like a boss that was just like not really too helpful, and they were kind of like, you need to see this patient, and then she's kind of like, I kind of can't because they won't really let me. So it wasn't really easy for her to build rapport because of that situation. And not everybody, is trying to go in the medical field like that or whatever, but it's like, eventually, I don't know. I can say eventually, but it's kind of hard to tell. Because, if people are coming up as, Gen Z, millennials, And they're still maybe on the bit of a younger end, and then, you know, they're kind of the ones running social media, and for the most part, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, they might actually make a way for themselves in older age so that they can continue their brand. So they might not actually be impacted because of age. Now that I think of it, they might not be impacted because of age. If they're not like set financially, they might be able to still keep their brand if people continue following them and buying their content. And so, like, Blake Mitchell was talking about his experience getting into the industry. He wasn't always in the industry, but he talked about when he started in the industry and what that process was like. That, you know, it came through a dating situation where he was, you know, having a sleepover with some guy that he was with, and this guy had like a roommate that had some friends that were doing some online like live cam type of videos of some form. I don't know exactly what, but you know, they kind of came into the room and were, you know, with him and his boyfriend or whatever they were considered, him and his partner, and kind of explained how much money they made just that night. And he was just like, oh shoot, like he wanted to do that, but he said that he was like so poor at the time, he didn't really have like a laptop or internet or, you know, anything like that. So eventually he got what he needed. Him and the boyfriend started like filming together, and I think videos with the other roommate or something. I can't remember exactly, but they started filming together, and then they basically got things up and running. And you know, he was able to go from there. He did mention that he wasn't like necessarily like maybe business minded as far as like finances and like saving and like scaling up. Like, it sounds like he was just like making and spending, but it's still, you know, he still got himself to where he is today. And I think it's pretty impressive that people that are like younger age, I mean, these people aren't even 30 years old, and, you know, they're, you know, able to, you know, make a life out of what they're doing. But like this other lady mentioned, you know, there is a window. And there was so this other lady whose videos I was coming across was through Graham Stephan, who's a finance guy. He's not in the adult industry, but he does this podcast called The Iced Coffee Hour. Him and Jack post content about you know, just interviews that they do with entrepreneurs that are you know, that basically kind of made their own brand. And he interviewed I'm trying to find the video. Dude, I don't really know what it was called. I gotta try to search this, sorry. Please bear with me. So he interviewed Stella Barry, who, you know, who makes $200,000 per month on OnlyFans. He also interviewed her manager at the same, you know, at the end of that same episode, like both of them together. The manager's name, I'm blanking on her name. Anyways, Iced Coffee Hour has the actual video, and like, I liked that they interviewed her, she kind of talked about her story about, you know, how her dad owned a business. Her mom was a doctor, I think maybe a neurosurgeon. I can't remember what the mom was, but Stella Berry herself wanted to be a doctor. So I don't know if she got into med school, I can't remember, but she started making, you know, adult content videos on OnlyFans and making so much money off of it. And you know, it sounds like, you know, she was able to basically get to where she wanted to get as far as like relationship wise, you know, having like authentic relationships with people. I mean, her and Blake Mitchell kind of mentioned the same thing about like how they really value like the authenticity of different aspects of relationships. That's something that you can kind of tell with some of the adult entertainers, that they seem like they kind of maybe don't have as many walls up as a lot of people might. I mean, that's probably what I find most appealing about them, is just kind of how they are, like, socially. That they're kind of not like most other types of people socially. They're kind of just like, at least the ones that I watch their interviews and stuff, like, they're pretty open-minded. They're pretty like, just like I mentioned, you know, they're young people who are making names for themselves, that are, you know, creating their own kind of personal brand. And, you know, I think, you know, good for them, you know. I mean, they're providing a service that clearly people like, or else they couldn't become millionaires and making like $200,000 a month. I mean, most people can't even make $200,000 in a year, you know. And so in a month, I mean, that's like, imagine working for a month and not even having to, not even like, yeah, if you worked for a month and made $200K, you wouldn't even have to work for the rest of the year. Most people wouldn't even have to work at all for the rest of the year. You could work 1 month a year, and not work anymore, and then, you know, just kind of do whatever you want to do, I guess. But, you know, she's working more than just once a month. It sounds like she's working every day. I don't remember if she takes weekends or not. Graham Stephan is also, he's a millionaire, and he's under 30. I think he's maybe 32 or 33 now, but he was a millionaire before he turned 30. And, you know, his brand is finance, so he seems like a real straight edge guy. Like, he plays it really safe, but I've definitely learned a lot from his content. But I really do hope that they start interviewing more people that do like OnlyFans and other types of work like that. Just kind of like in fields that aren't maybe the most common. Like, I think he interviews a lot of YouTubers that make their success on YouTube by finding like a niche that they kind of are able to make a living off of, filming content about or making courses about. Most of them have like a YouTube presence, and so it's very interesting. But yeah, I really feel like, you know, those two interviews kind of can help give people a lot of insight. I mean, again, you know, if people are sensitive to those topics, you know, I can't tell what somebody's line is going to be where they're like, okay, if you hear this, that's too much for you. Like, I don't really know. it's not too much for me, or else I wouldn't be watching it. But I mean, everybody has their limits with things. So if you're not really into those topics, you don't really have to like listen to them. But I kind of just like the interviews in general because it's like I'm happy for people who are able to kind of make their own way. Like I really do kind of admire people's methods that they use to kind of just like consistently do what they're trying to do to kind of get where they're trying to go, regardless of if there's even like a financial, benefit to it, or like a livable wage off of it. It's still pretty impressive to see people just kind of like reach their goals and like make moves, and you can kind of see the progress. Like I'm not really saying like, to see the progress with adult sex workers or people in that industry that you'd have to like necessarily even be watching like the porn videos and all that. Like YouTube has plenty of content. A lot of these people are on YouTube anyways. They're just not necessarily like filming the adult material on YouTube, obviously, because YouTube can't let them post that. But it's like you'll see them on YouTube. Like that's how I learn about most of them, is because of YouTube. Like I'm not necessarily like always like up on sites just like trying to figure out who's doing what. Like I feel like that's not the best way to really find a variety of people and their kind of perspectives on things, because usually like in porn videos people aren't really like having like interviews and like talking about their finances and stuff like that, and like the methods they use to become like financially stable, and like how they kind of like grew their wealth. And I mean, they're not there for that. They're not talking about those topics like that. That's kind of the angle that I'm more interested in, with their lives, and just kind of like what shaped them to kind of be the people that they are. Like those kind of things really interest me. Just like the backstories and all that. Because I think usually we're not really told, but I think it's almost like assumed, I would say. It's almost like assumed, and I don't think it's accurate, but it's almost assumed that people who go into those types of work options are like, they have some kind of weird damage that leads them to do that. I mean, there's variation in every field. I mean, I know people in the psych field that probably came into that field because they have some kind of issue from some other thing. I mean, like, it's common in every field. You're going to find that in every field, but I don't think it's the majority of people. I do think that sometimes when it comes to certain fields where people might have a little bit of a stigma about it, I do notice people saying those types of things like, oh, these people have issues, that's why they went in it. And it's everybody has their own issues, honestly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with going into an area of work if you have like an issue related to it. It just really depends on the scenario. There are healthy ways of doing it, and then there are ways that maybe aren't so healthy. Like if you have a need to just like step on others, and so you take a power position so that you can just like walk all over people, that's not cool. That's not okay. But it's like if you maybe unfortunately suffer child abuse, but you want to work with kids to like help them to have like a safer environment, I mean, that's a good way of, taking something you've gone through and like, taking that issue and like, bringing it into, making other people's lives better through the work that you do. I don't see anything really wrong with that. But yeah, it is wrong if you're like hurting other people, or if you're like even like doing damage to yourself. That's a whole other concerning thing. But I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us are taught, or almost like it's almost like assumed, because I know with people who do like, I guess I don't know if prostitute is a proper term anymore, but with people who do like prostitute work, those people usually, they're like, oh, like, they had some kind of like abuse issue when they were like a kid, so that's why they're doing that job. And I know that like that kind of idea does carry into, you know, other types of like adult entertainment. People kind of feel that way about them, but I don't know the stats on it, so I don't really want to even contribute to saying that. I haven't heard from the people that I follow, that I watch their content, as far as like their interviews and stuff. I haven't heard people saying that that's why they went into it, and they seem to be such an open book that I don't think they would just like leave it out. I don't think they would just like avoid it and be like, oh, I'm gonna leave this out and just not tell people what I went through. I mean, they're telling everybody everything else, so it's kind of like, I don't think they would do that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard enough even on, like, I'm not even like doing like any kind of sex work, and even just trying to like post something that I'm trying to, you know, provide value by posting something that people can learn through without, you know, them becoming uncomfortable, or, you know, without getting myself banned. You know, like, I'm just like, it's a fine line to walk, you know. And I'm not even doing anything like at all. Like, I'm just on here just like with my voice, just talking about stuff that I've watched or stuff that I've read or definitions for things. I'm not even talking about anything that like somebody could like even really consider, you know. I mean, I don't know. I guess people can consider just about anything attractive, so I can't really say, but I mean, yeah, like, inherently it's not really, like, I'm just like talking, you know, like, I'm not really doing anything. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, I used to be really big in like writing like fan fiction and stuff like that. Like, that kind of goes to like some whole other level sometimes. And then just like drawing and stuff like that, like a lot of just drawing in general. It was like I don't know what it was, how it looked or whatever. Yeah, it was pretty like just, yeah, like, it was, I don't know, it wasn't G-rated, I'll put it that way, like, at all. But, you know, it is kind of time consuming, so I don't really spend, that's kind of the main thing that made me stop doing it, is because it's like, it's really time consuming, like very time consuming. So it's kind of hard to do other stuff when you're kind of like drawing sketches and all that kind of stuff all day long, and trying to do other stuff at the same time. Like, I wasn't really trying to like do that. It was just kind of like a hobby for a while. I don't know how old I was. It was when I used to watch a whole lot of anime. Like, I watched like so much anime. It was like a lot. And then yeah, it was mostly just like written and drawn stuff. And I mean, I would post it, but I don't know if anyone could find it under my name. Probably, I don't know, but I don't think I ever posted it under my name. So, and this is like way back. I don't even know if the sites where I've posted are even like available anymore. It was like back when forums were like a thing. This is like ages ago. I don't even know like who goes on forums anymore. The only time I ever go on forums is if my computer breaks or if my car breaks and I need to look up how somebody did something like 8 years ago, how they fixed the problem, you know, like, and I'll Google it and it goes to like a forum and you're just like reading like old, you know, articles or old posts of people just saying like, oh, you need a new hose, or like whatever, like it's the fuses, like whatever, like it's some kind of troubleshooting advice on there, or like your computer, it tells you how to like change. Well, it must be the battery. You need a new battery or whatever. Like it just that was kind of you know, how I interact with forums now. But I used to interact with them like actually, like I would be up on there like talking to people and stuff, and like I was very involved in forums and would actually contribute to them and like post on certain pages and all kinds of stuff. Like that's kind of just what I loved doing. It was fun. But yeah, it's just something that I liked doing, but I could never find a way to do it like a lot faster. And so I just kind of stopped. Like it's not like a fast thing, like to write like lengthy stories and like lengthy series of stories and like making up your own like characters and all this kind of stuff. Like it's pretty involved. So I don't really do it anymore, but I mean it was fun, and the sites were directly for that, and so stuff wasn't really getting banned on there. But it wasn't monetized. There was nothing. It was just basically just purely just freely posting like your creative content, and it could be as wild as you wanted it to be. Like nobody was really like it had rules. Like they all have rules to them, but that's probably about as far as I've ever gone that I know of. I mean, I've sent people stuff, but it's not really like to companies or anything like that. It's like specific people. Like that's just about it. So yeah, I don't really post like other than like podcasts and YouTube. I kind of rarely post SoundCloud too a little bit, but yeah, very, 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 very rarely. Yeah, I do kind of try to, be knowledgeable of what's going to get me kind of banned. And I will go right up to that line. So, I don't want to get banned. That's the thing. Like, it's a hassle. I mean, you don't get paid when you're banned. You don't get paid at all. And then you lose all your content. And sometimes you can't even log into your own stuff. And so it's like, everything you work for is just like down the tube. And then you can be like, okay, I'll delete the one. But then they kind of like go through all your other stuff. And they're like, well, you got to delete it all. So it's like, whatever. Once you're flagged, you're kind of screwed sometimes. So I just try not to get in that position. But trust me, I know, because I've been banned before. So, I kind of know where that line is. But, it would be nice to be able to cross the line. I worry about, my future employment. I'm not saying I'm trying to post, like, videos of myself or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, other types of content, like the stuff that I used to post in forums, I could probably easily post that somewhere. I just don't know how I would log into them. I don't even know if those sites even exist. Honestly, I haven't been on there for like over 10 years. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, sorry, like, you can't log into this account. Like, we've changed so many times since then. Like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Companies just go under and then you just lose all your stuff. I think I was on like a Yahoo email back then too. Like it wasn't even Gmail, it was Yahoo. So I haven't even checked that. I don't even know what's in there. I don't even know if I have my password. So I couldn't really get back in. But I mean I could try, but I'm not gonna post it on here because then I'll get banned. And so I just won't post it on here. If I did post it, I'd have to post it elsewhere. And if I ever decided to do that, I would say something and I would send links, and if people wanted to find it, they could find it. But I don't even know if that is appropriate on this site. So I mean, I'm kind of working across a lot of different platforms here. So I mean, we're on like Apple and Spotify and Anchor and like who knows where else. And everyone has their own rules. Like I can't just be just like saying whatever I want to say and doing whatever I want to do. Like, it's a lot to do that. But yeah, I'm not too sure what more I have to say about this. I mean, I didn't really talk too much about Stella Berry's life, but I mean, she's a cis Caucasian porn star, pretty much on OnlyFans, and as far as I know, I don't know if she identifies as straight, actually. Based on some things that she said, I don't know. She seems to mostly have sex with men, but there were some things that she mentioned about females, so I don't really know. And I don't know if she really said, but I don't know. I can't really recommend. Can I recommend that people go and like watch interviews by people who work in adult entertainment? Is that something I can recommend? I'll just leave the question up in the air because I don't know if I can recommend it. But if it interests you, those might be some good places to start, because there's other content if you don't like it. Gavin Simon, his channel, and is Gavin Gaven, Simon Somon. Gavin Simon only has 3 videos on his channel, and they all have a lot of views, but only 3 videos, and so I'm not sure what that's all about, but maybe he got banned. I don't know. Like, it's really hard to tell sometimes, like, what's going on. But I hope he posts more, but they're from like a year ago, so I don't really know if he's posting more. Maybe he will. I don't really know. He's probably busy. He's probably busy with school, so I don't really know, but that's kind of all I really had to say on that note, and thanks for listening.